So it seems like to me that RTE is the main problem. It's had a very powerful influence on the collective understanding of what Ireland actually is for however long it's been there. I don't know, 60 years is it? I don't know. But coincidentally, the massive percentage of the Irish population that is sort of, still voting for change, who got the jabs, who sort of are the most deeply entrenched and contributing to the furthering of the agenda, by being complicit, So if we could get them to stop watching RTE, that would be a really good first step. If there was a lot of focus on targeting that. So, and it's not like you're trying to get them to take up something new, like it's like, oh, you're looking a bit fat there, you should stop drinking cans and go to the gym or play squash or something. Or, you should learn a language or learn how to play violin, or get a degree. You're not asking people to actually do anything. You're asking them to stop doing something, which is a lot easier. It would be the same with alcohol consumption or smoking or drugs or whatever. Negative impact stuff, It's easy because you can just stop doing it. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to learn anything new, develop a skill, do any really hard work. It's just not doing something. And then continuing to not do it for long enough that its negative impact in your life is diminished or gone. It's probably going to be mostly awake people who see this, so it's like, oh yeah, well I stopped watching RTE 15 years ago, and and we know how difficult it is to stop people from watching it. You can see the detrimental effect it has. Like I heard Thomas Sheridan saying that if he sees the news or like a mainstream newspaper or anything like that he actually feels nauseous, as if the sort of energetic, demonic sort of thing behind that window is like it can bring nausea to a human being. And I'd be in the same boat as that, I don't watch any of it either. And advertising, anything like that is just it's not a thing in my life, And when I am subjected to it for whatever reason, usually something that's pretty much outside my control, it really does make me feel unwell. So people don't even realise how sick they are with it. You know what I mean? It's sort of very, very like some sort of substance abuse. The media you consume, and I see it with this whole nationalism movement as well. People are fully hooked on outrage. Yeah? I don't see it as beneficial. Like the best result that's coming from any of it is people showing up to peaceful protests where they get beaten down. That's the only good thing coming out of it. The rest of it is just people complaining, maybe there's some sort of constructive stuff happening in the shadows or whatever, but that would kind of insinuate that they're not fully engaged with the sort of recreational outrage. And I think it's as negative, if not more negative, than actually consuming mainstream ideologies from RTE and all that. So, it's sort of like a platform for people to get their ideologies across and to sort of project their own inner dissatisfaction with themselves, with their lives, and blame it all on the current state of affairs in Ireland. And it's much akin to going to a pub with 200 other people who also have alcohol problems, but you sort of prop each other up and it's okay, and tomorrow we'll all be dying and maybe someone will kill themselves and we'll have no money and all that, but but for now it's fine, we're in it together. And it's a bit like that with taking any sort of a side. I'm not like left or right or anything, I'm not a troll, but it's like like being outraged, getting your dopamine drip or your whatever from being outraged, and from other people who are also outraged agreeing with your outrage. But at the end of the day, it's just like the theories and the outlook on things just becomes very, very like downward spirally and perpetually more miserable. I'm not saying things are good in Ireland. I know it's coming from a place of despair and holy shit, we've been absolutely, I'm trying to think of a good word for like violated by the authorities over, especially in the last 6 years. I know where it's coming from, but outrage isn't really going to do it, it's the same pattern as people who are indoctrinated by RTE. They're complacent, which is completely unconstructive, and outrage is also unconstructive. Both are forms of sort of people propping each other up, and nothing actually getting done, so, but at least the outrage movement holds space for constructive criticism and arguments and things like that, so it is a fraction or a few degrees in towards true north or whatever, but so I don't know if there could be a sort of a calming down a little bit, taking the energy away from being outraged, because the more outraged you are and fueling it actually gets worse. Those authoritative entities and stuff like that, they feed on it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like you get a narcissist in the media, someone like a McGregor or an Andrew Tate or something like that, and they don't give a shit whether you like them or not. They just want the attention and the comments and the discourse about them and all that. They just, as long as they're not thinking dualistically, they're just like no what is it? No press is bad press, and that's exactly how in governments and the rest of them. That's exactly how they feel. They're threatening to take away your freedom of speech and that, and then that just makes it more energy. They're all traps. They're not stupid. They invented the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? From however many centuries or decades back, it's the same. It's the same pattern as people sitting down and watching RTE. it makes them stronger. So if you could redirect the outrage into something more constructive, with taking down RTE, essentially getting rid of that, pulling that massive entity out of the minds, because it takes a long time to recover from something like that, from being told that that's the way the country is. But everyone knows on a personal level what RTE and all that, it doesn't reflect what goes on in people's lives, really. On personal level, but there's something about it, like the ritualistic form of it, the propagandized ceremonial ritual that it has been for so long. That's what people find the comfort in. I think the Angelus might be gone from it now, I'm not too sure, but same time every day, same sort of faces for years at a time, the same style of music in it, all that, it's all comfort for people, do you know what I mean? Family time, memories as children, all that stuff, they know all of that, do you know what I mean? And it does actually take a while to detox that and to reframe and recalibrate your perception of the world, of the country you're from. And I think it's the easiest, most effective sort of starting point would be to sort of like a massive campaign to get people to stop watching it or listening to it. There's the other channels, I suppose, as well. I don't really know anymore which ones they are. Virgin is one, I know, and I don't know what other ones. TV3, TG Cahir, I don't know. But yeah, so I'd go with that. And you'd be surprised. I know there's a fear and a wariness of taking your eye off the ball with sort of, not being outraged at every fucking thing that comes along in the other alternative media, and like it's like that becomes habitual as well. You have to maintain the sort of aggressive hatred all the time at your own detriment, by the way, because like you're making yourself feel like that regularly. It's not healthy, it's not good for you. See, people have aged incredibly, including myself, over the last 6 years. People who looked young and vibrant 6 years ago, even without the jabs, at this stage now it's just withered them, you know what I mean? So it's not a healthy stream to be in. And I think you'd be better off trying to turn off RTE. If enough people have a sort of a single pointed focus like that, like a mission, a task, you can accomplish things so much easier and more effectively. But with the other thing, it's just like every incident, every assault or rape or murder or crazy bit of legislation and all this immigrants, the whole thing, it's just a constant set of distractions. And the unity is outrage, which is non-constructive. You'll notice that the protests are peaceful and that people aren't outraged at the protests for the most part. It was the outrage that brought them there, but then it's a peaceful protest that the government are completely prepared for with the public order unit or whatever, and it doesn't actually achieve anything other than the feeling of unity for as long as it lasts. There is a benefit, I suppose, but like it's not changing the actual agenda that's been inflicted. But if as many people go to a protest every month or however often they occur, if you got that many people every month to stop watching RTE, and weren't outraged all the time, come up with a system, a method, alternatives for people. Don't be trying getting them to be a Christian nationalist or be whatever, join our team or anything. It's just like, understand the main shaper of things that has been in Ireland for so long is RTE. You can't argue with that. It's the arm of the government. It's how they do it. You know, a couple of newspapers, whatever. But Irish Times, whatever. I've never read any of them. I don't care. But yeah, it's just like, don't do those things. Try and convince people not to do that. Yeah, so it's the root of the illusion, and turning off the RTE. A lot of you you're awake to it and stuff, but falling into the outrage stream is sort of like, it's like a painful process of letting the deeply entrenched RTE illusion go. But that's, you know, it's time to change the tune. You know, because outrage, hatred, it does not promote clarity. You know, what you want is clarity. And yeah. It's, you know, there's the Buddhist perspective would be, what you put into your head is as important as what you put into your mouth. You know, shit in, shit out sort of a thing. There's a lot to be said for that. And yeah, if you're absorbing horrible stories all the time, constantly seeking it out, be like, oh my God, I'm so outraged or appalled or disgusted, or this is the worst thing yet, you know, and then finding all these other people to share it with. Who's that helping? It's like, oh, we're spreading awareness of this thing, but nothing ever actually happens as a result, except the awareness. Do you know, it doesn't actually... You know, but it's like awareness based on outrage. You know, it's not accomplishing anything. If you're honest, like, what has been accomplished? EU Migration Pact is coming in a couple of weeks. People getting murdered left, right and centre. The whole thing is spinning out of fucking control. And the outrage has done nothing to help any of it. Do you know what I mean? It's not scaring Muslims. Like, look how outraged these Irish people. It's not stopping them doing their thing. You know what I mean? There's going to be however many thousand of them up at Crow Park in a couple of days, as part of Eid al-Adha, the single greatest animal slaughter event in the world. An estimated 60 million sheep, goats and other animals will be sacrificed to their god in the course of 2 days. 60 million. In Ireland, maybe 80, 90,000 sheep with a few goats are going to meet Allah, you know, in the next couple of days. That's not, like, all the outrage hasn't stopped that from happening. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. You don't really see the Islamic people getting outraged. They're unified in a calmness. Do you know what I mean? In an agreement. They're not getting their media from, you know, being outraged at everything, or being, you know, they're brainwashed in their own way, but they don't drink alcohol. They don't get told about the way the world is via the TV. It's all community based from the Quran or whatever, but yeah, it's all community based, and that's why they're fucking exponentially increasing all over the world and infiltrating countries all over the place, because they're crazy and delusional, but they have clarity amongst each other. You know, they're not going around getting outraged, and if they are, it's done in professional, strategic ways. Yeah, and that's how they're becoming so powerful. Do you know what I mean? People trying to stand up against that is like it's pissing in the wind. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would drop the outrage. Really figure out what you stand for. Do you know? What is a Christian nationalist? Do you know, someone who went to mass once a week in Ireland, maybe said the rosary a couple of nights a week, like that to me would be a staunch Christian. Nearly everyone that I grew up with, older generations and stuff, yeah, maybe went to mass regularly, engaged with the this and the that, the communions and the confirmations and all that, but it wasn't like praying 5 times a day and trying to take over the world. Do you know, like you think that Christian nationalism is going to be a match for that, and being outraged by everything that they do, feeding the mainstream media that portrays it all. Do you know, it's like it's seriously skewed. So tone down the outrage, do a bit of meditation, do something healthy, be happy that you've chosen to do something nice for yourself, and just work on removing RTE out of Ireland while we still have the internet and the connectivity to arrange things like that. You know, it's less effort than going to protests, it's all that, and it's more effective. You know, something as powerful as Nazi Germany went away. Something that got away with all sorts of atrocities. Loads of those massive things like that had an impact for a long time. A huge level of propaganda and brainwashing, and entire populations of countries in lockstep with it. Do you know? That went away because people withdrew their attention and their ritualistic donation of their attention to it. Do you know? So the RTE thing, that can go away way easier because they're not an army. Do you know? They're not going to kick your door in if you don't watch it. Do you know, like it's such an easy fix. Do you know? Just withdraw from it all. And yeah, that's about all I have to say on that for now. Bra.